And a good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm back. Sorry for the delay with the recap of Homestead Miami, but regrettably, I've been busy lately. Before we get started on that, don't forget, hit the button, hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe for more content like this, and so forth. I know it's repetitive and redundant at this point, but I had to mention it at least once in this video so we can get it out of the way. But before we talk about that, there is one thing that caught my eye the other day I want to talk about right quick. And that's the latest update regarding the lawsuit between the teams and NASCAR. The only change is that the teams want NASCAR, was the judge rather, to drop NASCAR suing them. As of now, no word yet on if the judge is going to do that, but I did want to at least bring that up right quick regarding the latest battle on the legal side of things. Whether or not the judge will is a story for another day. But as soon as I find out, hopefully I'll let you know. But as of now, that is the latest regarding the lawsuit. And I did want to at least touch upon that right quick. So, as you probably know by now, Kyle Larson had the chance to win all three races in Homestead Miami Speedway this past weekend. He won the truck race and the cup race, but ultimately, due to a late race caution, lost the Xfinity Series race. But he will get another chance at the triple at Bristol later this year. Speaking of the Xfinity Series, Justin Allgaier won 2 straight races. Can he make it 3 in a row at Martinsville? I like that possibility. And I'll give my Martinsville picks later in this video as well, but just hold that thought for now. Speaking of, tonight's a truck race. And I'm gonna think that for a change, I'm gonna go with Lane Riggs to get the win tonight. And yeah, I'm going ahead and sit down, and I think Allgaier can make it 3 in a row. If not, then Almirola can make it 3 in a row as well, by winning 3 straight Martinsville races as well. As for the Cup race, yeah, until further notice, it's pretty much a spring playground for Hendrick. And I think that Bowman's going to get his redemption for what happened last weekend. So I want to get all that out of the way right quick as well. But overall, the races down at Homestead last weekend, despite what happened in the Xfinity Series race and whatnot, that prevented history from being happened, the races itself wasn't all that bad. And there is a rumor going around the internet lately that for next year, it could be back to host a finale. As of now, of course, the schedule has not been released yet, so hard to say. But according to the track's website, there is a November 1st date for NASCAR there, so who knows? If NASCAR does decide to condense the schedule further to, say, run between President's Day and Halloween, then that could be a possibility. And incidentally, that the whole Kyle Busch announcement, it was just him and his son having a dirt race, in a sprint car dirt race. Although Kyle still wants his son to race in the truck series part-time, and Kyle to race part-time in the truck series down the road. Now, there is one other thing I did want to talk about right quick. And that is regarding the recent rumors regarding Warner Brothers and the Looney Tunes. There have been several sites that apparently Warner Brothers wants to sell the franchise. even though an executive at the company denied it. So I want to get my thoughts on that right quick. I wouldn't be surprised if the price is right, they would at least consider selling parts of the franchise to other companies. Not necessarily the characters themselves per se, but distribution rights to certain projects, for example. Or television distribution rights to the shorts. That could be up for grabs. But as far as getting rid of the characters and selling all the characters themselves, unless they're that desperate for money, of course, I just don't see that happening. Because unless you're a huge movie buff, you can argue that the Looney Tunes made Warner Bros. To what they are today. Sure, you got classic films like the Maltese Falcon and Casablanca, for example, and the Earl and Robin Hood film. But regardless, arguably the best known property, far as original, even though it wasn't exactly original property per se, since they were only a distributor at the time. Regarding the Looney Tunes, it's arguably the best known quote-unquote original IP. To sum it up, until Leon Settinger sold the studio, he owned the rights to the Looney Tunes characters. Once he sold the studio, the copyright to the characters transferred to Warner Brothers. But originally, the Looney Tunes were created by Hugh Harman and Rudolph Ising. When Harman and Ising left, from what I've read, Leon had to negotiate with them in order to keep the Looney Tunes and Merry Melody's names. But they took Bosco, who was the star of the Looney Tunes at the time, with them. Eventually ended up in MGM. But anyway, my point is that Warner Bros. Outside distribution had no say whatsoever in the Looney Tunes originally. So it's kind of hard to say as it being original per se because of that technicality. But I do get why people would consider the Looney Tunes be an original Warner Bros. Icon per se, because of the longevity the franchise has had throughout the years. And speaking of Looney Tunes, apparently for Darlington, Brandon Jones will be sporting a paint scheme that Jeff Gordon ran in the early 2000s when NASCAR and Looney Tunes had a partnership at Richmond. So I thought at least throw that in right quick as well. Now let's see, when was it? Oh yeah. This comes on the heels that Max has pulled all the shorts from the content, apparently as a strategy plan to try and make the streaming service aimed more towards adults instead of children. Although how they consider Looney Tunes children is beyond me. Sure, the shorts air on television nowadays and aired on television for decades, albeit in edited formats. But the shorts weren't exactly made for kids originally. If anything, they aimed more towards an adult audience than a kid audience. Not that the kids didn't watch them or anything back then, because they probably did. But 9 times out of 10, a joke would aim more towards adults than kids, if that makes any sense. Because really, the only studio, to my knowledge, that outright acknowledged that, yeah, we've made these shorts for kids, was Paul Terry. Although you could argue to an extent that Famous Studios went along the kiddie format when Lulu arrived, and possibly to a lesser extent, due to television presence, Walter Lantz. But outside of those places, at least in later Lance shorts as well, that weren't necessarily, cartoon shorts weren't necessarily made for kids, especially what my point was. Unless it has some sections. So getting back to NASCAR for a moment, to wrap things up for the day. Whether or not, oh, and by the way, I almost forgot, apparently they're done with the option tires for the rest of the season, so it's going to be one set going forward. Although with the chance of rain this weekend in Martinsville, have the rain tires on standby just in case. That is for the Cup race, I might add. And I see people on Facebook once again whining about why such and such is on Prime, why such and such is on FS1. Well, let me just say this. Would you rather have Fox have all the NASCAR races broadcast exclusively there for Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup, similar to what they did with the Cup races back between 2007 and 2014? Or would you rather have NASCAR just broadcast those 9 races on Fox and NBC, but nothing else? Because need I remind you, these races have been on cable for decades. Problem is that Fox and NBC don't exactly have room anymore for NASCAR all season due to other commitments with other sports leagues, plus other programming. And can you imagine how fans of those sporting events and other programs would feel if they learned that, oh, NASCAR's going to be our #1 sports team, they're going to get top priority. If you don't like it, too bad. Do you think they'll like it? No, they wouldn't. We all know that the NFL is the #1 sports league in this country for a reason. They have the final word on what's going on in terms of sporting events around here. So I guess for the fans, it's not like, NASCAR going to cable was anything new. It's been that way for decades. Streaming, yes. Although you could argue with NBC's simulcasting the races on Peacock as an experiment for streaming, the last contract, but for exclusively on streaming, outside prices and qualifying, not so much. But regardless, my point still stands. Rather than not, you choose to get cable to watch the FS1 and USA races and TNT races. It's up to you. Same with Prime. That's up to you. But you need to understand, that's the way the business works nowadays. It just doesn't make sense business-wise, unfortunately, to have everything on the networks these days. Especially when you've got other programming to take into account. Sure, cable has the same problem, but at least not to an extent with the networks. And that's basically what my point is in all this. As for the CW, you can at least partly blame the affiliates for not showing the races, while they're blaming the network itself. Speaking of which, I will give the remote broadcast credit. At least it felt like they were there at the track instead of just watching a monitor or two. So we're going to CW credit for that, at least. And to my knowledge, I think this time they will be at the track itself, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, those are my thoughts. And I'll see all of you next time. Bye for now, folks.